It does feel like every few months there's an update to what's happening with media relations. Why is it so hard to get stories? Why is everything changing so much? And here we are again. Here we are again looking at what do we do now? Everything seems to be changing. So, just a few points on media relations, which is just one part of what we do, but a super important part of what we do, talking with the media on your behalf, on clients' behalf, to help generate stories that serve the media's audiences by including great things about our clients, right? So, first, the most important thing is to remember that we are supposed to be of service to reporters. We can't just like call in favors. We're not just picking up the phone and going, hey, I have an idea. No, one, it doesn't work anymore. It used to work. You used to like be able to bully your way in, particularly in high tech back in the day. But no, not so much anymore. So that's number one. Number two is it also used to be like you went to New York and you did your media tour and you had your in-persons and all that kind of stuff, and it would be a good investment of your time. Today, not so much. If you are traveling to New York, if you're not already there, if you're traveling to New York, it's a big expense. You're going to take 4 or 5 days out of your executive's time to do this work. You are going to work pretty hard to make that return on your investment for many reasons. One is reporters are everywhere now. They're not just in New York anymore. So maybe Poughkeepsie is more important than New York City, frankly. Two is it's not this. There is an old school impression that you just like walk into the Hearst building and you go up and down to all the different floors to see all the different publications. No, that's not how it works. If you were going to the Hearst building, you'd have to make different different appointments with different publications, and you'd have to go in and you'd have to come back out and you have to sign in again with security and go back up and then come back down and go back. I mean, it's not just walking the halls. Oh, and there's Gladys. I'm going to talk to her. So really understanding where are the people who you need to speak with to get that relationship, to have that one-on-one, to do the demo, whatever it is, where physically are they? And how can you take advantage of where they are versus your schedule? Because it's not as efficient as it used to be in terms of doing those media tours. Three is freelancers. Freelancers. Now, last time we talked about freelancers maybe a year ago, and our number of our freelancers is growing. If we just look in the last, we're recording this on November 15th, 2023. In the last 4 or 5 months, there have been lots of layoffs in the media. And so what happens when that when happens in terms of generating stories is that reporters turn into freelancers often if they don't land other jobs, or they start their Substacks or whatever it is. They turn into freelancers. And freelancers, they used to be called stringers. I don't know if they're called stringers anymore, but freelancers have much more content being published by traditional media. When I say traditional, I mean online, print, television, radio, just have much more stuff being published by media outlets today than ever. And so when you're talking about placing a story in a publication, you should also be talking about not just the reporter and understanding how they're going to get a job done, but also who are the freelancers that also work with that publication. And it's changing all the time. So right after the lockdown in 2020, I think our freelance list maybe doubled, and now it's probably 4 times that size. So every time we're looking at a story to be placed, oh, Thrillist would be great for this client. This would serve their audience really well. This story, who do we need to talk to? Well, it's not just people who are on the masthead. It is all the people who might be stringing for them, freelancing for them. So in general, we would send a pitch to 8, 9, 10 people who might be circling the Thrillist ecosystem. And then in order to get that accomplished. And because of that, number 4, time. Everything takes a long time. Now, this has always been true. It is very if you're not a market maker, if you're not a publicly traded company with a lot of cash and moving markets and changing the stock of other competitors, or if you're not in the White House or you're not going to war, the stuff that is like news, market making news, things that will impact the world, that kind of thing, mayhem, death, destruction. That's why it's always at the top of the hour. Then you don't have to be written about right now from a reporter's point of view. So they're not going to drop everything to include your new pair of glasses or whatever it is into a story. There's not. So what do you need to do? You need to, what is the date that you'd like? What is the time frame that you'd really like? And then back it up. And then whatever you want to back it up to, add a month. Because whatever you're used to takes much longer today. So we used to have Christmas in July, and now we have Christmas in June or May. So just think about that extra 6 weeks that we need to get done. Everything we used to do in July for Christmas. I mean, already was July and Christmas, 5 months ahead of time. It's actually even more, regardless of the fact that it's online and it feels like it's just online. I can just post it up. It's not how it happens. Unless you're a real market mover or have something mayhemic happening. The next piece is the idea with the time and the freelancers is really this, I said at the top, is being of service. We're not just calling our friends and saying, can you do me a favor? No, our friends aren't going to do us a favor. They have to keep their jobs, right? They're not going to do us a favor unless we're serving it up on a dish that is absolutely dead center to what they're going to cover with the parameters that they need to cover it with. Like, what's the opposing point of view? What's another competitor? Can you give me some statistics? All the stuff that they need to write the story. There's no favors there. That is serving up a story. Hopefully that's well balanced, and being of service to the reporters. If you're not of service, I don't care who's my best friend. My best friend's not going to do that for me because it puts him or her at risk. So there's no favors we're calling in, which means how we get our reputations, how we build relationships is mostly on being of service. And being of service means we understand their world. That means we understand what hoops they need to go through to get a story published. What other things they have to get done today. How does that work? And what are the pieces they have to do to actually get a story done? Are they doing the video themselves? Do they take the photo themselves? Do they have to edit themselves the video before it even goes to editorial? Who knows, right? So understanding that situation is super, super important for all of us in the public relations, media relations world to actually have that be a pretty seamless transition between an idea of a story and then seeing it wherever it was in their words, not our words, right? And then that's sort of whatever number I'm on, 6, I think. I was asked the other day, Lee, who was in your phone book? Who's in your phone book? Who's in your phone? Like, who can you just call? I was like, for what? What am I just calling them for? Who can you just call and make a story happen? Well, first of all, I'm probably not calling them for a story. I might be calling them, because I knew their mother died, or they're, or they're good friends. We haven't caught up in a while, that kind of stuff. But I'm not going to call them and say, hey, get an idea. Can you call my favor in? Because people don't pick up their phone anymore. You don't pick up your phone. I'm not sure why you think reporters are picking up their phone. The incoming email, text, Instagram, DMs, LinkedIn, X, Twitter, whatever it is, each person has their own way of wanting to receive things. And they have, obviously, there's multiple ways to get to everybody. But if the person prefers email, or the person prefers DM, or the person prefers a specific email for a specific kind of story, that's what we need to know. And then when we know that, then we can activate that communication And then usually it's going to be electronic. Usually it's not going to be a phone call. And by being electronic, it then becomes searchable. And that's what we really want, because we don't, most of the stories that are written today are not written because they need to be written right now. You need to be in a place where you're giving a story idea or concept idea in your email subject line, because people are going to save it. People save the most valuable stuff so that when it comes up again, they can search it and they can find it. And when we do that, the phone's not going to help us. The phone's only going to help us when it's urgent. And it might be urgent for us, but it probably is not urgent for them in general. And if you're being of service in media relations, it's about them, not about us. So what's the moral of the story? The moral of the story is stay flexible, people. Keep up. When the tide is changing, and we need to make sure that we have all those thought processes, all those filters on when we're doing this work. And if you're a company who's working with an agency, you don't understand why things aren't happening. It might be because the dynamics have changed. Hopefully not because you have a bad agency. But it's probably because the dynamics have changed and you need to shift with those dynamics, because if you're behind, you can never catch up. All right, till next time.